Okay, I have kind of a little quiz. This is a little bit unfortunate because it's a fake quiz, but let's see where we go with this. How many wise men were there? 3, possibly, yeah. Although when you look in the scripture, it doesn't actually tell you, but we've learned there are 3 wise men because there are 3 wise men in our nativity. And we assume there were 3 because there were 3 gifts. Yeah, gold and frankincense and myrrh. I find it also by the way, where did they come from? We don't know. They came from the east. Shoot. So here's my question. How many times do I tell the same joke at Bethlehem? But this is too good, so I'm going to do it again. So you heard about the boy in the south who saw a nativity set with the wise men, and his dad was a fireman, so he went back and took 3 fireman hats and put them on the 3 wise men. And when he asked, "Why did you put the hats on the wise men?" and he said, because they came from afar. Okay. All right. We'll forget that next year. But yeah. So we don't know where they came from. Probably from Persia, where they were watching in constellations, and they're in the constellation of Judah. There was a star that appeared. We don't know age and race. Although if you look at your nativity set at home, chances are that one is old, one is middle-aged, and one is young. One is Caucasian, one is African, and one is Oriental. Because the deal with the wise men are that they're representative of all the world coming to Jesus. And we don't know their names, right? Although tradition, since 800 AD, has given them names. Anyone know the names of the 3 wise men? Pardon? Melchior was one. One was a friendly ghost, Caspar, and Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. And we don't know that was all assigned later. But if you go to the most beautiful church in Cologne, Germany, it's just an awesome cathedral. Above the altar, you can see a gold box, a reliquary, and they open up the door, and the 3 skulls of the 3 wise men are there. But at any rate, they're still there. We don't know how many. We don't know where they came from. We don't have history after them. But they came to Herod because they assumed the king would be born in the king's palace. But Herod doesn't know anything about it. So they send him to Bethlehem. Bethlehem was the place centuries earlier where Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel, died in childbirth for Rachel's second son, Benjamin. The favorite first son, Joseph, the guy with a coat of many colors, had a young brother, Benjamin, but Rachel died giving birth in Bethlehem. It's also the hometown of David. The other thing I find interesting in the gospel is that 2 weeks ago when we were together, Mary and Joseph had traveled to Bethlehem, and she gave birth and placed him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn, right? But today, the Magi come, and they come to the house. So most scholars believe that the Magi didn't come on Christmas Eve, even though they deserve to be in our nativity set. But sometime within the first year or 2 years, because then Herod kills all baby boys 2 years and younger, trying to kill off Jesus. So there's a lot we don't know, but we do know. So there's 3 things, 3 characteristics or 3 issues I'd like to raise. One is the gifts that they brought. The gifts that they brought are gifts if you're going to have a baby, you're going to want diapers, and you're going to want casseroles, and you're going to want stuff to clean the house with. But no, what are they going to do with gold and frankincense and myrrh? But the 3 gifts symbolize what the wise men are bringing. The 3 gifts symbolize who Jesus is, because you only really give gold to the king. So as the Magi open up this gift of gold to the one who is Jesus, what they're really saying is that, this cute kid, this little babe, is not just a cute kid, not just a little babe, but really is God. It really is a king. He really is the one who is in charge of the world. So the gold speaks of the kingship of Christ. And then frankincense, we don't use it here at Bethlehem, right? We don't have incense very often. I love when I go, the few times I've used incense, everybody coughs. But when you go into a Catholic church where they use incense, nobody coughs because they're used to it. Great smelling stuff. And by the way, it's not, those of you of a certain age may remember strawberry incense, it's not the same thing, right? It's church incense. But here, they use it in worship, and incense, frankincense is given because Jesus is also God, not just as He king, one who rules, but there is also they recognize in this cute little kid, this little babe, that He is God. And then there's myrrh. I have identified myrrh as kind of being like Vicks. It's a thick ointment that smells wonderful. But when a person would die over in ancient Israel, they would cover the body in this myrrh and then place him or her in a tomb above ground, and then as the body would desiccate and nothing would be left within a matter of months but bones, instead of the decaying flesh, the people outside would smell the myrrh that had been placed on the body. Myrrh's not a gift you normally give to a little kid, but it's being given to the one who is about to die. So the three gifts of the wise men are here to speak of who Jesus is, who is King and God and one who is to die. So what kind of gifts do we bring? I'm not going to bring, we bring our offerings here, that's kind of like gold, but the best things that God needs is for us to follow, to love, to trust, to know that even in the darkest of our lives, the love of Christ, like the star of Bethlehem, shines straight and true. The love of Christ holds on to us. The gifts that we bring are gifts of ourselves, right? Gifts of grace. The second issue is the issue of the star. It's we don't know where the star cannot be proven by any astronomical or astrological sign. We don't have that kind of a star, but in the constellation they supposedly saw this. What we understand is that they saw the star, but the deal is that this star moves, and so the wise men followed the star until it came to Jerusalem, and then they followed it until it shone over the actual house where Jesus was staying. An unusual star for that unusual time. But the people of Israel understood that. When they left Israel, when they left Egypt centuries ago, the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud would lead them out of Israel, and they were led by the light of God's love. When we go out and look at night, and we see all the amazing stars in the sky, there's this one star that never moves. That North Star. And when you figure out where the Big Dipper is and how you can find your way to your North Star, it never moves. And for centuries, people who were fishing or who were sailing on the open sea or riding camels in the desert, that North Star would just lead them because they knew always the direction to go. Whatever this star was that led the wise men to Bethlehem speaks to us again of a love of Christ that is our North Star, our directional guide, the way that we are called to live. The third character in our story is Herod. Herod was a bad guy. Herod killed his wife and kids along his life. Herod ordered that when he died, thousands of people would be massacred so that everyone would cry at his death. Herod was full of power and wealth and control, so unlike Jesus. There's a song by James Taylor, and I'm going to read some of the words. These magic men, the Magi, some people call them wise, oriental, even kings. Well, anyway, these guys, they visited with Jesus. They sure enjoyed their stay. Then, warned in a dream of King Herod's scheme, they went home by another way. Yes, they went home by another way. And maybe you and me can be wise guys too and go home by another way. Steer clear of royal welcomes. Avoid a big to-do. The king who slaughters the innocents will not cut a deal for you. Go home by another way. So the wise men knew that they shouldn't go back to Herod. In that same way, Jesus speaks of another way, a narrow way. In him is life. And that's why we get together each week. In him is life and hope in the midst of all the stuff going on. In him is light in the middle of the darkness. In him is grace in a world that is falling apart, and full of death and brokenness. So the three issues today, the fourth one, right? Get that? The fourth one that just implicates and infuses itself in all is the presence of the one who is the babe in Bethlehem, who is the young man at the house, who grows up to become the faithful son of Joseph the carpenter, his stepdad, who becomes the faithful son of his mom, Mary, who lives in the community just like any one of us, who spoke out against abuse and power, who spoke out against the way of Herod, who spoke out saying that love of people is the way we show love for God. Get that? Love of others, even those who are unlovely, is the way we show love of God, who came to fill the brokenness in our hearts and in our relationships, in our world, who came and on the cross opened his arms for all. Even me, even you. And out of that grave, new life came. Jesus is that light of the star that leads us a different way home, a different way of life. So here we are. It's New Year's again. Are you still searching for that peace? Are you still searching for that hope of what life has to offer? There is no magic pill with Jesus. You're not going to find that everything becomes perfect. But you do find, in the midst of darkness, there's love and grace. And I am convinced, in the midst of pain and suffering, there is healing and there is hope. Because he has come for you. And his love never ends. Amen.